Hello, my name is Mark, and today we're going to be going over the IBEW Full-Length Algebra and Functions Aptitude Practice Test. This is Practice Test 2. I have gotten many positive reviews for Practice Test 1, and this is the reason for Practice Test 2. When you are taking this test, make sure that you screenshot the question and work it out yourself before watching me work it out. And for extra review, I have put review steps on the slides. So that's about it. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed. I have many videos going over what could be on the test for the IBEW, but the problems that I do work out are excellent to build your algebra foundation for any test. When I'm working out the problems, it will be in green and the answers will be in orange. There are 34 questions in this set. Don't time yourself now when you're taking the test. Take your time and work out each problem. Watch me do it yourself, and then see your score and examine areas where you feel uncomfortable or which took longer than normal. You will have 46 minutes total for 33 questions, and that's about 1.4 minutes per question. All right, there we go. We got that all out the way. Let's go ahead and begin the test. So, question 1. What is the next number in the following series of numbers? Okay, for this question, what I would do is I would write everything down first, and I would try to find the relationship among all the numbers, right? I want to find out what's going on here from this number to this number, from this number to this number, this number to this number, this number to this number, and so on and so forth. So from -3 to -8, we go -5. Right? From -8 to -1, we go +7. Over here, we go -5. And then also from here, we go +7. And from 1 to -4, it's going to be -5. And the next number in this sequence, from 4 to whatever's here, and we see a pattern, it's -5 plus 7, -5 plus 7, -5. So the next number in our series, or what we have to do, the operation, is +7. And this is a -4. And the answer would be +3, which is answer choice B. Now, the thing was here, I know that there's another pattern going on. Okay, there's something else that's going on, and this may happen on the test where you find another operation to figure out the answer. So, can you tell me what the operation is? For this, -3, we have an operation, or we have a pattern within the odds and the even numbers, right? And what I mean odds and evens are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going to write these down, right? I'm going to write the odds down, -3, -1, and 1. And then I'm going to write the evens down, -8, -6, and -4. Now I'm going to do exactly what I did last time to figure out what's going on in between each of the numbers. Right? From -3 to -1, we're going to see that it goes up by +2. From -1 to 1, that is +2. And then from here, +2 is the operation, the pattern, and 1 + 2 equals 3. And that's going to be the 7th number in the operation. Right? Let me just write this neatly so we could see everything, visually see everything, so we could visualize. So we have -3. I have these gnats all over. Hold on, I see it right there. I got the vacuum cleaner. and it's not there. Okay, I'm gonna leave the vacuum cleaner over here. Sorry guys, I will be interrupted because one of my plants is infected and it's super annoying, these fungus gnats. Okay, so I have -3, -8, -1, -4, and then the next one, I'm just gonna put this as a line, okay? And again, I'm gonna mark them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. We're trying to find the 7th term, the next number. So, I'm gonna make this orange. Okay, so the next number in this series, right, we have here, this is 1, this is 3, this is 5, and this 3 is a 7. So 3 is our next number. We don't even have to work this out. But the pattern here, if we want to find the 8th number in the series, right, if we want to find the 8th number, then we would work this pattern out. But we don't have to, and I'm not going to because I don't want to waste your time. Okay, so B is the answer. Let's just go ahead and look at the answer slide in orange to see if there's anything that I missed. So step 1, rewrite the sequence of numbers, -3, -8, -1, -6, 1, and -4. Look for a pattern between the terms. So from -3 to -8, -8 to -1, and so on and so forth. And you're going to see that you're going to find what I showed, which was, I think it was -7 + 5 or vice versa, something like that. But what I have here is to look at the odd position terms and then look at the even position terms, the odd positions and the even positions. And we see that the pattern with the odd positions, 1, 3, 5, and 7 we're trying to figure out, is the pattern is +2. Also, the pattern for the even positions is +2. So the sequence is made up of 2 interwoven arithmetic patterns, both increasing by 2. Then we apply the rule and we get B as the right answer. Okay, moving on. Question number 2. This looks disgusting. I don't like fractions. But once we look at the numbers below, which are the denominators, we'll figure out that that's what we should be focusing on. So I would not really pay attention to the one at the top, right? The fraction. I would not pay attention to the fraction. I would focus on the numbers below. So I'm not even going to write the fractions above, the 1 and the numerator. I'm just going to write 8, 14, 12, 21, 16, 28. Okay, and we want to find this term over here. I'll put a question mark right there. And then what are the transitions, right? 8 to 14, what is that? +6. 14 to 12, that's -2. 12 to 21, that's +9. And I'm seeing here like this isn't working out, right? There's nothing really going on here. 21 to 16, that's -5. And then here it's +12. I mean, from here I see 6, 9, and 12. There's a pattern going on there. Maybe there's a pattern going on with 2 and 5, -2 and -5. And there is. I see that 3 is common in all of these. So what I mean here is, again, it looks like the pattern is in between, interwoven with 2 sequences. So the first sequence, which is the odd sequences, I'm going to erase these over here and we're going to start over. Okay. The odd sequences, 1, 3, 5, and we're trying to figure out 7. And then we have 2, 4, and 6. So I'm going to write the odds, right? 8, 12, 16, and we're trying to figure out this one. So 8 to 12, right? 8 to 12, I see a +4, which had nothing to do with what I just did over here with the transitions. And over here, another +4. So it has to be +4, right? 16 + 4 to get 20. And what I mean by when I do +4 and -4, it goes like this. 8 + 4 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. And you're going to find out that I will be using multiplication pretty soon, or division. So let's go ahead, and this is actually the answer, 20. And don't forget to put the 1 at the top, all right, to get the fraction, and that is answer choice C. And to go a step further, we have 14, 21, and 28, right, to find the 8th term. And then 14 to 21, what is that? That is, what is this? Is that a heart? That was supposed to be an 8. My handwriting's so bad on the computer. So 14 to 21, that's plus 7. And this one's plus 7 again. And then we have 35 as the 8th term. But that doesn't matter, okay? What matters is the next number in the series, which is 1 over 20. I'm going to box that up for you guys. And let's see if this is in fact the right answer. So what is the next number in the following series of numbers? And then it is 1 out of 20. And let's see if I missed any steps. So it was an alternating pattern between the terms, between the odds and the evens. So identify the operation in between the odd terms, 8, 12, and 16, right? These are the odd terms, 1, 3, 5, and then 7 is what we're looking for. And then it was, in fact, plus 4, just like we identified. And the bottom two is plus 7. The odds are plus 7. The missing number term belongs to the first pattern, right? Just like I said, we want to find the 7th term, which is the next number in the pattern. And 16 plus 4 is, in fact, 20. And put 20, the denominator, under 1 to get 1 out of 20. Perfect. Another question down. Let's go on to question 3. Question 3. Okay, this one's easy. I want you guys to identify this on the get-go. Sometimes you don't need to even write the transitions. Sometimes you could just see the pattern just by looking at the problem. And they will put this. And I love that they put this because this will give you some confidence when you're taking the test. So we have 3, 8, 11, 19, 30, and 49, all under, as the denominator, 1 over whatever number I just said. And if you just get rid of the fractions, what's going on? Right? We have 1/3, 1/8, 1/11, and we see that 3 plus 8 equals 11. Right? I'm not even going to write it down. Okay? I want you guys to visualize this. Like when you're taking the test, notice these patterns. You're going to notice these patterns, or I'm telling you to identify these patterns. Okay? 3 plus 8 equals 11. 8 plus 11 equals 19. 11 plus 19 equals 30. And so on and so forth. Now the next number in the series is 30 plus 49 equals what? We could do that in our head. That is 79. 1 over 79, which is B. Okay, perfect. Let's see if we got the right answer. And it is, in fact, B. And exactly what I said, look for the pattern between the terms and identify the operation. We see that the new number is the sum of the previous two. Okay, there might be a trick question where they're going to ask you, what's this one? Right? And then you just do it in the opposite. 11 minus 8 equals 3. 8 minus 3 equals what? 1/5. 1/5. Right? Would be the next one. If they do a question like that. But I don't think they would. And is my math right? 19 minus 11 equals 8. 11 minus 8 equals 3. 8 minus 3 equals 5. Yes. Okay. Perfect. All right. That is the answer for question number 3. Let's go ahead and move on. And the reason why I put the number series first is because this is how I took the test. I took the test with the number series first, and it completely shocked me because I couldn't figure it out. These are supposed to be a confidence booster, and my confidence was shot in the very beginning. So Now you will be armed with number series, and you will identify the operations and the patterns, and you will pass this portion of the test. You will pass the test because you are studying right now. Okay, question number 4. What is the next number in the following series of numbers? 128, 109, 93, 80, and 70. What is 128 minus 109? 128, 109. Like, I made this hard on purpose because it's not like you can't do this in your head, right? 18, 1, and that's 9, 19, 19. 109 to 93, right? Can you do that in your head? Yes, you can. That's 16. And then 93 to 80, that is 13. Then 80 to 70, that is 10. All right. And we want to figure out this to get this term, the next term. So this is where we have to find the differences among the differences. Okay. So we have 19 to 16. What is that? That is minus 3. 16 to 13, that is minus 3. And this is actually minus, 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 minus. Oops. And this would be plus, plus, positive, right? Negative 13 to negative 10 is positive 3. So because negative 13 plus a 3 equals negative 10. And then the pattern is positive 3. Negative 10 plus 3 equals negative 7. 70 minus 7 equals, so I'm going to put that over here. 70 minus 7 equals 63, which equals C. Perfect. I believe I got this. So rewrite the sequence of numbers just like we did. We look for the pattern between the terms. Okay, I made this hard because the first term is going to throw you off because it's hard to do this kind of math. 128 over 109. I'm not going to front. Like, I do exactly what I just did. Okay, I write it down, I complete the operation, and then I move on. I don't do it all in my head. Okay, you're going to do some operations like, I know that there's going to be this on the test. And well, can you do this in your head? No, you're gonna have to write it down. Okay, have some humility. You're gonna write it down. So here it's subtract 19. 128 to 109 is subtract 19, subtract 16, subtract 13, and so on and so forth. And then now we look for the pattern among those numbers. So 19 minus 13. Oh no, I think I wrote this wrong. 19 to 16. 19 minus 3. Maybe it's 3. That's what I meant to put. 19 minus 3 because it's minus 3 or actually plus 3, right? Because it's negative for each at the beginning and then it's positive, right? That's what I meant to put. But it makes sense when you write it down like this. But okay. The transitions here, what I'm trying to say here is you find the transitions. All right, minus 9. I think I'll just correct that. I'll just correct it right here. 128, just for you guys. 128 to 109, that is minus 19. And over here, minus 16, minus 13, and minus 10. Right? 80 to 70 is minus 10. And we have the subtraction pattern. I mean, that makes sense because I put subtraction pattern. 19, 16, 13, and 10. Now look for the pattern among the numbers, right? Negative 19 to negative 16 is positive 3. So we're just going to do the operation like this. Just so it's all uniform. All right, perfect. And then the next one would be 10 minus 10, and then we plus 3 because we want to minus 7, right? And actually, let me just do this. There we go. Now this you could copy and screenshot. Negative 19 plus 3 equals negative 16, negative 13, negative 10, and then we have negative 7, and 70 minus 7 equals 63 to get the next number in the series. Perfect. All right, next question. What is the next number in the following series of numbers? 1, 4, 13, 40, 121. All right, this isn't apparent at first, okay? But you will find this type of question where you have to see this type of pattern. You have to identify this type of pattern. And I wish someone told me about this, because there will be a question like this on the test. And I don't think IPrep helped me to identify these patterns, because IPrep gave me really simple number sequence problems. So from here, you have to know from 1 to 4 to 13 to 40 to 121, and we're trying to find this term, question mark. So from here to here, traditionally you'll be like, oh cool, okay, plus 3. Okay, from here to here, plus 9, right? From here to here, that's plus 27. From here to here, excuse me, this is plus 81. I mean, this looks clean, kind of. And then from here to here, it's times 3. From here to here, times 3. From here to here, times 3. And then 81 times 3, what is that? That is 243 plus 243. And then we go 121 plus 243. That equals 364 is our answer. 364. And that is answer choice C. Okay? That's actually how I would do it. Okay? But I'm going to show you another way. And this is kind of confusing. Okay? But you will encounter these type of problems where you're going to have two operations. Okay? Instead of finding the differences between the differences, you're just going to have two operations, which is just the first layer of the differences, not the second layer like we had previously where we multiplied by 3. Okay? So from here, 1 to 4, if we multiply 1 by 3 and add 1, we'll get 4. If we multiply 4 by 3 plus 1, we'll get this. This is 4 times 3 is 12 plus 1, that equals 13. And then if we get 13 times 3 plus 1 equals 13 times 3, that is 39, plus 1, that is 40. And then let's just keep going down the line. 40 times 3 plus 1 equals 40 times 3. What is 4 times 3? That is 12. Add the 0. That's 120. 120 plus 1 is 121. Now, 121 times 3 plus 1 equals, what is 121 times 3? Let's just do the math right here, right? 136, 363 plus 1 is 364. That is another way to solve this number series and find the next number, which is going to be 364. Okay? There are traps. You could put 363 on accident because you forgot to add the 1. So make sure you pay attention to the operation. Okay? That's what is on this slide over here, which shows the operation as 1 times 3 plus 1, 4 times 3 plus 1. So it's times 3 plus 1 to get the next number. You could do it either or. You could do it the way that I showed you in the beginning, which was find the differences, then go a second layer and see what's going on between the differences. Or you could identify this from the get-go. So let's go ahead and move on to question number 6. So question number 6 is just like that. It is just like this, except that instead of it being plus 1, it will ascend or descend, meaning it can go times whatever number plus 1 times the same number and then plus 2 and then plus 3 and so on and so forth. So let me demonstrate. So we have 8, 23, 67, 198, and 590, and then question mark. Okay. Now, okay. That's an ugly 5. I'm sorry. So you could just do this. You could try, right? 8 to 23, that is plus 15. 23 to 67, I don't even want to try it. It's just not going to look right. So, I mean, 44, right? I think that's 44. 44. And I honestly don't see anything going on here. 67 to 198. Let's just do that for the video. 131 plus 131. And this one was plus 44. So there's nothing really going on there. Okay. That means multiplication has to be at play. Okay, there's something bigger happening. And there's nothing going on between or among the odd number series or the evens. So from here, we have to figure out the multiple. This is from trial and error. But just from looking at it, you could identify that 8 times 3 equals 24, right? Minus 1 equals 23. That's one number. Now we go 23 times 3 equals, what does that equal? That equals 69. And then remember what I told you, ascending or descending. Now, how do you get 67? You have to minus 2. All right, this kind of looks good. Okay, it's checking out. So we do 67 times 3 equals, what does that equal? 67 times 3, 1, 2, that is 18, 201. So we have 201. And how do we get 198? We have to minus 3. And that equals 198. So 198 times 3 equals, what does that equal? 198 times 3, that is 4, 2, 27, 9, 2, 594. 594. And then we're descending one more, minus 4 equals 590. All right, we have found the pattern. So now the next number in the operation is 590 times 3 equals, and I don't know that, so I'm going to write it down in the corner, and this is what I would be doing on the scratch paper. 590 times 3. And, you know, before you take the test too, ask for a lot of scratch paper. I didn't like how they gave me just one piece of scratch paper. Like, that's not going to do, lady. I'm going to need a lot more than that. Okay, this is a 3, 27, 2, and 15, 1770. 1770 minus 5 equals 1765. And that is our answer, which is going to be C. All right, let's see what we got on the answer slide. So again, rewrite the sequence of numbers, look for the patterns between the terms. This is just going to be hard, you know, this is just going to be hard to identify, but you need to know that, or you don't need to. I guess you could say you need to. You're going to need to know that you're going to have to do 2 operations in this number series. And then you find out this right here, this descending operation, right? Minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. This is the same, the multiply by 3, but this is going to be a little difficult to identify. All right? And then you figure out the next number in the series, which is going to be 1765, which is C, like we put C. Okay, perfect. These, I don't want to say they're easy, but if you have been studying which you are by watching this video, you will gain confidence, you will get these right, and you will be ready for the next set of problems. So now we are on question number 7. Simplify the following expression. Okay, this one's easy. You just have to distribute the coefficient, combine like terms, do some math, do some algebra, and then simplify, which just means make the terms in the lowest terms. All terms must be in the lowest term or form. So let's just go ahead and do the math. So -2, I'm going to write everything here. I'm going to do the math. I'm going to show you the math. So this -2, we're going to distribute it. That's the first thing I'm going to do. If there's anything that I could do in the parentheses, I would do that first. Like, for example, if there was a +7, and then I would have -5 plus 7, which would equal +2. But that's not there. There's nothing going on here. Nothing can be combined. I'm not going to mess with it. So -2, I'm going to distribute this to the 3x cubed. That -2, I'm going to distribute to the -1/2 x squared. -2, I'm going to distribute to the 4x. And -2, I'm going to distribute to the -5. So I'm going to do that operation on the side here. So I'm going to start with -2 times 3x cubed. That equals -6 cubed. And then -2 minus, or not minus, but times -1/2 x squared. That equals, I'm going to show you the operation of what's going on here. So -2 times the 1/2, or what better way is to show it like this: -2 times -1/2, right? And then this -2 just goes up there and it equals -2. I'm going to do it in parentheses just to emphasize what's going on. And then a -2 divided by a negative, right? Or a negative times a negative will equal a positive, okay? And this is what's happening, and that just equals 1. Okay, that's all that's happening here. So we have a +1 x squared, or I could just write it like this, x squared. And then -2 times +4, which is -8x. And -2 times -10, which is, or not -10, -2, I got ahead of myself. -2 times -5, and negative times a negative equals a positive, and we have +10. And then plus x cubed minus 3/2 x squared, or this equals -1.5, excuse me, -1.5 x squared minus 6x plus 7. So the only real algebra we had to do was just distribute. That's it. Okay. Now we're just combining like terms, which is super easy. Okay. So I'm going to write down the highest power, and I'm going to find out, or I'm going to find the numbers that are of the highest power and combine them together. So -6x cubed and x cubed. And when we combine them, -6x cubed plus x cubed, that equals -5x cubed. All right. So just looking at our answer choices here, it's definitely not D, because it starts with a -7x cubed, right? You see that? -7x cubed. So we know from here, we can eliminate that. So we're left with these two. And then we find out our next. So what I do on the test, really quick. I'm doing this like super quick, okay? But I'm breaking it down for you slowly. So I just cross these out. So what's next is x squared and -3/2 x squared. So I'm going to write that down. -3/2 x squared plus x squared. That equals... So this is like a 1, right? Just for you guys in reference. And all this equals is -1/2 x squared, right? Because remember I told you that this is -1.5 x squared plus, remember I put this 1 there, but that's just to emphasize, and then a negative 1.5 plus a 1, okay, we're left with a negative 0.5. So 0.5 x squared, which also equals negative 1/2 x squared, okay? It's just a different way to look at it. So again, if we look at our answer choices here, I'm going to just underline this because this is going to be part of our simplified expression. We look at our answer choices here. We have negative 5 halves x squared and plus 5 halves x squared. And that's not negative 1/2 x squared. A is negative 1/2 x squared. So when you're taking the test, you could just rule these out and then circle A and move on to the next question. But for the sake of this video, let's just go ahead and complete simplifying. So we have next is our x terms, negative 8x minus 6x. That equals negative 14x. I'm going to underline that too. And then we have, let me cross this out from here. Then we have 10 plus 7 equals 17. And then we have our fully simplified expression, which is negative 5x cubed minus 1/2 x squared, and then minus 14x plus 17, which is this right here, which is A. And let's see if I missed anything in the answer. So rewrite the problem, okay? And when I say rewrite the problem, I mean it literally, because you're going to have this on a computer and they're going to give you some scratch paper, and it's going to be very difficult for you to just mentally do all this. I think it is. For me, it is. Maybe you're just awesome, but let's just go ahead and proceed. Rewrite the problem. Distribute first. So distribute that negative 2 to everything in the parentheses like so. And then they get these terms. And then they put these terms back into the expression, adding the x cubed, negative 3/2 x squared minus 6x plus 7. And they combine like terms, okay? And then I would cross the like terms out as I group them mentally. And then we get the simplified version of negative 5x cubed minus 1/2 x squared minus 14x plus 17, just like what we had on the question slide, on the green version of question 7. So we got A, and now we move on. Consider the following formula. So this one is actually an easy question, and I'm going to solve it a different way rather than foiling first, because usually I would just FOIL first. I would FOIL this. And foiling, all we're doing is 4 operations. All right, we're doing x times x, x times 5, and then negative 3x times x, and negative 3 times 5. Did I say that right? Negative 3 times x and negative 3 times 5. So yes, 4 operations, right? That's what I would do first. And then once I get this, which is going to be in x squared, and then you're going to have a plus minus, I'll just put some numbers down, and then 15, something like that. And then you would distribute the 2, right? But I am going to distribute the 2 to the first binomial first, okay? So I'm going to distribute like this, and then you're going to get negative 2x plus 6, and that's the binomial, the first binomial, and then you have x plus 5. And now I'm going to my gosh, dude. The gnats just get up all up in my face. Like they don't just hang out like anywhere. They just got to hang out right in front of my face. It's so annoying. Okay, it's gone now. But if it comes back, I'm going to go get it. Okay, so let's go ahead and FOIL. Okay, negative 2x times x, negative 2x times x equals negative 2x squared. And then negative 2x times 5, right? Did I do that right? Yes, I did do that right. Okay, negative 2x times 5, that equals positive 10x. Okay? And then, oh wait, I'm sorry, that does not equal positive. I thought that was a negative I wrote down. That actually equals a negative 10x. Sorry about that. And then we have 6 times x, 6 times x, which equals 6x. And then we have 6 times 5, 6 times 5, which equals 30. And then our final formula will be negative 2x squared, all right, minus 10x. All right, looks like it's going to be this one. And then, but no, because we have this 6x, right, we have to combine these because they are like terms. Negative 10x combined with 6x equals negative 4x. So this is our actual simplified number when we combine these terms, and then the 30. So our formula is negative 2x squared minus 4x plus 30, which is answer choice A. Okay, let's see if we got this correct. And it looks like we did. So here they do the FOIL method in the very beginning, right? They didn't distribute first. They do the FOIL method, and then they get x squared plus 5x minus 3x minus 15. And then you have, once you FOIL, you have this x squared plus 2x minus 15. And then they distribute the coefficient. And then the coefficient is negative 2. So negative 2 times all of this, negative 2 times all this, which equals negative 2x squared plus 2x, or I'm sorry, negative 2x squared plus or minus negative 2x plus 30, right? So they break everything down here. And then that's our simplified expression, which is A. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next question, which is question number 9, which is factor the polynomial. And factoring the polynomial seems hard. Okay, this one was a hard concept for me to grasp, and I will break it down to you Barney style. Okay, so for this, we have to find the GCF, the greatest common factor, for each term. And each term is this. This 18 is a term, x is a term, and y is a term. Okay? And then we have to do that for this too, 27, x, and y. So let's go ahead and factor this polynomial. And what I like to do is I like to factor my polynomial like this. I like to have this is exactly what I did on the test. And I did this. I made 3 underlines, and I did this for the first part of the polynomial. I did 3 underlines, and then I do a plus and another 3 underlines. And then I start factoring, right? So I'm going to write this at the top. Okay. And then what I would do next is, so between these two terms, what is the greatest common factor? And it's not 18, okay, but it is 9. So you could take out a 9 from this. So we're gonna divide 9 and divide 9 from those two terms, and we're gonna put the 9 here, and 18 divided by 9 equals 2, and then 27 divided by 9 is 3. And next, let's deal with the x's. So what is the greatest common factor in the x's? It's going to be x cubed. So we could divide this by x cubed, and we could divide this by x cubed. And what's going on is x cubed divided by x cubed. I'm going to put the x cubed over here because we took it out. But x cubed over x cubed, that just equals 1. And I'm going to put a 1 over here. And x4, x to the 4th power, divided by x cubed equals x. or it equals x to the first power, x to the 1 power. Okay, because when you're dividing these, when you're dividing exponents, you're actually minusing the top numbers. So x4 divided by x3 or x cubed is like this. x4, x to the 4th power minus 3, and that equals x1. That's what's happening. Okay, I wouldn't write all this on the test, but this is what's happening. Okay, it's just so it doesn't confuse you. And down here, this is multiplying each other. 2 times x times whatever number we're going to figure out there, and then 3 times 1 times whatever number is going to be over here. So the greatest common factor here is going to be y squared, and then y squared, and then this is going to equal 1. And I'm going to put the y squared over here. That's what I would do first. And then y cubed divided by y squared is just y. And there we go. We write everything cleaner now. And it's going to be 9x cubed y squared. And then in here we have 2xy plus 3. Okay? And that is going to be answer choice C. Okay, and if we multiply everything back in, we're going to get this polynomial. Okay, that's all we did. We just took out the greatest common factor from each term. So let's go ahead and see if this is in fact C. And yes, it is C. And rewrite the problem, identify the greatest common factor for each term. We're going to look at each part. Numbers 18 and 27, the greatest common factor is not is 9. And then for the x terms, the greatest common factor is x cubed. For the y's, the greatest common factor, the smallest power, is y squared. And then we take those out. We take the 9x cubed and the y squared. And then we're going to check the factorization. Or we're going to, did I put that part? I didn't show that I removed it, but from here, I showed you what happened, okay? So you're going to solve this really quick, okay? Because you learned what happened in the background. But while you're doing this problem, you're going to do this mentally, okay? Because you're going to already know that when you get x4 divided by x3, that already equals x1. You already know. And you're not even going to put an x1. You're just going to put an x. You already know. So let's just quiz you a little bit. y16 over y12. What does that equal? That is y to the 4th. Okay? So that's what's happening. Or that's what has happened. The final factored form is 9x cubed y squared. And everything in parentheses is 2xy plus 3. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and go to question number 10. Factor the polynomial. Okay, so this one I put on purpose a coefficient here at A. Oh my gosh, what is that? I put a coefficient here at A. And what I mean by A is this formula, or this right here, is actually ax squared plus bx and then plus c. Okay, that's what I mean by that. The coefficient now is not a1. It's greater than 1. Okay, and when it's greater than 1, this could get tricky. Because when it is just 1, and let's say we had this, we could get 2 numbers here, and a number here, I'll just say z and r, right? Z and r, when multiplied together, it equals -10, and when combined, it equals 11. Okay? But we can't use that. We can't use that right away. And because many people were telling me like, oh yeah, you could just FOIL this and figure out the right answer. What I normally teach is the A times C method, which is you have to multiply the 6 by C, which is -10, and then you find out what can be multiplied together to equal -60 in this case, and then what could be combined to equal 11. Okay, but since many people think that possibly, maybe, there's going to be this kind of question and all you need to do is FOIL, then I created this so you could FOIL. So let's go ahead and start with A. A is 3x plus, I'm not even going to do that. Let's say you have scratch paper and you're just going down the test, right? So 3x times 2x. 3x times 2x equals 6x squared. Okay, 3x times -5 equals -15x. And then you have 2 times 4x. 2, or not 4x, getting ahead of myself again. 2 times 2x, which is 4x. And then 2 times -5. 2 times -5 equals -10. All right, we combine everything together. 6x squared minus, what is this? That is minus 11x minus 10. And this is not this polynomial, so we can get rid of A. Really, what we could do is see where maybe we could rule out an answer choice, but it looks like when you multiply the first term, we will get a 6x squared, which is here. Okay, so we have to FOIL each one quickly. And like I did, it only took a couple of seconds to FOIL. So we're just going to go down the line. Okay, 6x times x equals 6x squared. And then we have 6x times 5 equal 30. And then -2x times x, which equals, did I do that right? I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting ahead of myself again. -2 times x, and this is an x, equals -2x. And I would stop here because 30x minus 2x equals 28x, which does not equal 11. So we're out. Let's stop foiling that and let's move on to C. You see what I'm doing here? This is actually a very quick way to do it, but I do recommend you know the A times C method, which I will link a video of where I do that, because you need to know that. You need to know the foundation. You don't need to, but I recommend you learn it. Okay, so let's go ahead and do C. 3x times 2x, that is 6x squared. Then you have 3x times -6x, which is, or 3x times -2, which is 6x. And then you have plus 5 times 2x, which is 10x. And then combine these together, and this equals 4x, positive 4x, which does not equal 11x. So we could rule out C. And what's left is D. And I wouldn't even FOIL it. I would just pick it. But for the sake of this video, let's just go ahead and do it. Let's do it slowly. 3x times 2x equals 6x. Then you have 3x times 5 equals 15x. Then you have -2 times 2x, which equals -4x. Combine these two together, that equals 11x. Check. And then we have -2 times 5, which equals -10. Now the final is, this is a squared, sorry, 6x squared minus 11x minus 10. And that is your answer. This equals, plus. Okay, right? 15x minus 4x is positive. So I meant to do that, like that's a line. Positive 11x. And there you go. So the answer, the steps for this answer are all here. So exactly like I said, just FOIL each answer. You don't have to go all the way, especially when you're like at this part right here. You know that 30x minus 2x does not equal 11x, it's 28x. So you're just like, all right, I don't need to work this out no more. We could stop B. Okay? You're going to have to identify those points, those choke points, whatever those points are called. Okay, that is question number 10. Let's move on to question 11. Consider the following formula, where B equals 1, C equals 6. What is the value of A? So for this question, I would just rewrite everything super quick, okay? Filling in for the variables. So we have 2, 2A. Actually, I would do exactly what I'm doing, okay? Minus 1 plus 1/2, and then C is 6 plus 5 equals A plus 6. And then I'm going to work with whatever's in the parentheses. So on the side here, I'm going to go 1 plus 6 over 2, because 6 over 1 divided by 2 is 3. So 6 over 2, when we simplify, it's 1 plus 3, which equals 4. So this whole thing is 4. So rewriting everything now, again, 2A minus, I'm going to still put it in parentheses, plus 5 equals A plus 6. Distribute that negative because that negative acts like a -1. So I'm going to put a 1 here just to show you guys that that's what's happening. I'm going to distribute this negative to that 4. So we have 2A minus 4 plus 5 equals A plus 6. Then we're going to distribute this 2. So the 2 is going to go to the 2A, and 2 is going to go to the -4. So we have 4A minus 8 plus 5 equals A plus 6. Then we just simplify, and we're going to isolate the A. So minus 8 plus 5, that equals 3. So we have 4A minus 3 equals A plus 6. I'm going to go plus 3, and I need some more room, so I'm going to erase all this. And then we have 4A equals, and these cancel out, okay? Look like a TP. A plus 9, and I'm going to minus the A, and then we get 3A equaling 9, divide by 3, and we get A equaling 3. And that is answer choice C. All right, let's see what we got here. So rewrite the problem filling in for the variables, exactly what we did here. We put the B equaling 1 and then C equaling 6. Then we put the 6 over here too as well. We started with the parentheses and we simplified the parentheses. And we got 4 inside the parentheses, exactly what I did. And then I didn't show it here, but I distributed that negative. And then I simplified further, distributed the 2, and then isolated for A. And then we get 3A equaling 9, 3A equaling 9, divide by 3, and then we get A equaling 3. All right, perfect. Basic algebra, guys. That was basic algebra. All right. This stuff right here, these questions, I hope they build your confidence up, because the next questions that we have in this slide deck are going to be hard. The basic algebra is good to go. You'll be good to go with the basic algebra. So evaluate the expression for n equaling 6 and p equaling 2n plus 6 over 3. So what would I do first here? What I would do first is I would put this 6, n equaling 6, I would substitute it with the n over here in the equation p to find out exactly what p is. So I would go p equals 2 and then substitute, okay, plus 6 over 3 equaling 12 plus 6 over 3 equaling 18 over 3 equaling 18 divided by 3 is 6. So p is equal to 6. And I'm just going to write that down over there. And now I'm going to substitute the n and the p in this expression here. And they both equal 6. So n plus 6 over p. So it's 6 plus 6 over 6. Excuse me. P is 6 again. 2 equaling. And we just go ahead and do some algebra. 6 plus 6 is 12 over 6, which equals 2, and then 2 plus, and then 6 over 2 is just 3, plus 3 equaling 5. And that is answer choice B. All right. What you could do here, and you know, there's just multiple ways to solve problems sometimes. 6 plus 6 over 6 is equal to 6 over 6 plus 6 over 6, and then plus, and I'm going to put this over here, and 6 over 2. And this equals 1, right? 1 plus 6 over 6 is 1, plus 6 over 2 is 3, equaling 1 plus 1 plus 3 is 5. So you could have done it like that. Okay? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I think you would solve the problem in the same amount of time. So, I don't know why I'm erasing, but yeah. Let's go see what we have here. We solve for p first, and then we plug in n equaling 6 for the n in the p to find out that p equals 6. Now we plug in the n and the p values, and we get n plus 6 equals 6 plus 6 equals 12. P equals 6. The expression now becomes 12 over 6 plus 6 over 2. Simplify and combine, and we get the answer 2 plus 3 equals 5. Okay. Now, we have more algebra. Okay. More algebra. So for these questions, you see how I'm rewriting them? That's what I would do. Okay? Because again, you will have a computer, and they will give you scratch paper, and it'll be very difficult for you to do everything in your head. So, how long have I been recording? It's been over an hour now. Let's keep tracking, okay? It's been over an hour. My gosh, I would not be able to complete the test. But you will be able to complete the test because you will be armed, okay? I'm doing everything really slow. So, A equaling 4 and D equaling 5. So, I would go ahead and just plug everything in. So D is 5, so 5. And then B, we're trying to find B, minus A, which is 4. And we have this fraction, which will cancel out, thankfully. Minus 3. And then I'm just going to do this side first, okay? Because I can't fit everything in here. So 5, we distribute the 5 and then distribute the 4. Okay, so we have 5b plus 10 minus, this is 4 over 2, which equals 2. Then we have 2b. I'm going to put it in parentheses because I do have to distribute that negative. And then 4 times negative 3, which is 12. Negative 12. The gnat's back. 4 times negative 3, which is negative 12. Okay. And then we distribute the negative. So we have 5b plus 10 minus 2b plus 12. Then we combine like terms. This is 3b plus 22. Okay, this is the left side. So I'm going to put this over here, 3b plus 22. And then we go ahead and do the right side. I'm only doing the left side and the right side for the sake of the video, but when I do the test, I would do the whole formula. Okay, so 30 minus 2 and then b, oh, we don't have b, we're trying to find b, minus a, which is 4, and then b times 1, or minus 1. So we would first deal with these parentheses over here. So 30 minus 2b, and then that's, I'm just gonna take this negative with me. So negative 4b, and then negative 4 times negative 1 is plus 4. Okay. And then we distribute the negative here. And then we get 30 minus 2b plus 4b minus 4. And then we combine like terms. So 30 minus 4 equals 26. And then negative 2b plus 4b is plus 2b. So we have 26 plus 2b on our right side. So let's just combine them all and see what we get. So we have 3b plus 22 equals 26 plus 2b. And now we just isolate to get b. So I'm going to minus 22, 3b equals 4, and then plus 2b. And then I'm going to minus 2b, and then I get b equaling 4. And that's it. B equaling 4, which is C. And let's see what we have in our answer choices. Aha! B equals 4. And I did exactly what the steps tell me to do, which is rewrite the whole problem, put everything in there, okay? And then you would first work with the left side and then work with the right side, and you get 3b plus 22 on the left side. What do we get? 3b plus 22. And then on the right side, we got 26 plus 2b, 26 plus 2b, and then we just isolate and solve for b, and we get b equaling 4. All right, perfect, that's it. This may trip you up because you have a 1/2, and also this may trip you up because we have many times where you could mess up distributing the negative, okay? Remember, when you are using the negatives, you either take the negative with you or get this a, for example, multiply it by b and the negative 1, and then you're going to have to go back and distribute that negative again to whatever is in here, okay? Remember to take that negative with you, all right? And that negative is like a negative 1. That's how I imagined it when I first worked with algebra, or that's how I was taught, okay? Perfect. Question 14. Now this is a monster. All right. I put this on here on purpose because I did see from the Ultimate Electrician's Guide that this problem, something like this, will be on the test, which is evil. Okay. Evil. But let's work through it. Okay. What we could do from the get-go is just get rid of this 3. Okay. I put this 3 to confuse you there. But we could just get rid of it, okay? We could just get rid of it. Because what this equation is, actually, is this is its own full term, and this is its own full term, right? And then when you have terms like that, you could go 3, and then I'm going to say everything in this right here in this bracket is m, and then plus, and then, 3m, whatever's in this bracket, divided by 3, plus 3, and then x plus y squared. I'm going to say that's n divided by 3. And then you just do this. And then we're left with the numerator. Okay? So that's what I did. Or that's what I'm going to do. So first, I'm just going to get rid of this. And then we're left with 2w minus x minus y squared, and then I'm going to still bracket it, plus x plus y squared, okay? And then minus z equals 2w plus 2xy. But first, before we even do anything, let's work with this. Let's just expand these, because these are what we call squaring a binomial. And squaring a binomial, the equation goes like this: a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Okay, where a in this case right here, a equaling x equaling 1, right? Or I'm sorry, just make it equal x. And then b equaling negative y. Okay, now we plug this inside this right here. This is the squaring the binomial formula. So we have x squared plus 2x, and then b is negative y plus negative y squared, which equals x squared plus 2, or I'm sorry, not plus, because we have a negative y. 2 times x times negative y equals negative 2xy plus y squared, because a negative y times a negative y equals positive, and that becomes y squared. Okay, and then for this one, it's just going to be x squared plus 2xy plus y squared. So these are expanded. This and this are expanded now. So that's why it's a monster, because there's just so much to write. So let me go ahead and expand these. So I'm going to start from here. 2w minus, and then I'm going to put this in parentheses because I want to distribute that negative. And we have this right here, x squared minus 2xy plus y squared, okay, plus, and I'm going to put this in parentheses too, x squared plus 2xy plus y squared, okay? And what I'm doing here is I'm going to end up canceling a lot of terms, okay? So now I'm going to distribute this negative, and we have 2w minus x squared plus 2xy minus y squared plus x squared plus 2xy plus y squared. I'm not going to bring this minus z equals 2w plus 2xy. Why? Because I want to cross these out. So I have this right here, minus x squared plus 2xy, right? Plus 2, oh, no, we can't cross that one out. Plus 2xy. Can't cross that one out, but we could cross this one out. So we're left with 2w plus what is 2xy plus 2xy? That's 4xy, right? And then I'm going to tag along the z equals 2w plus 2xy. And then after that, we get what I could do here is I could minus 2w, and we could cross this out. We could cross these out, right? And then we have, right? Can I cross that out? Yeah, I could cross that out. Then we have 4xy minus z equals 2xw. And then I could, I'm going to isolate the z. So minus 2xy, that equals 2xy minus z equals 0. And I'm a plus z, and then what I get is 2xy equaling z, and then I could plug in the numbers. I didn't even need w. And then I have 2 times 3 times 1 equaling z, which equals z equaling 5. Or I'm sorry, not 5. Holy crap. Equaling, what is 2 times 3? That is 6. Times 1 is 6. So z equaling 6, which is answer choice A. Okay, perfect. Let's see if we got that right, because that was a lot. Okay, you have to do a lot of canceling terms and squaring a binomial, but that's, all this stuff is just for you to have attention to detail. Okay, because they want you to slip up. And you will slip up if you don't know what you're doing. But that's what they want you to do. They want you to slip up. They want you to really pay attention of the operations that you're doing, and they want you to perform them correctly. That's all they're doing. So let's go ahead and see how I did it on the slides. So step 1, rewrite the problem, expand the squared terms. So I expanded the squared terms first. I didn't cancel this 3. Like, it'd be so much cleaner if I just canceled the 3. But I did, okay? Substitute those back in. So we substitute the square binomials back in. And then we cancel the fraction, combine like terms, and isolate z. Simple. So I got rid of the 3. And then I distribute the negative right here. I distributed this negative, and then we got it over here. And then combine like terms and isolate variables. So exactly what I did. Minus x squared plus x squared cancels. These cancel. These add together. So then we get this as our formula. Subtract 2w by subtracting 2w to both sides. Those cancel out. And then we have to minus 2, or we just isolate z. We have to do some operations to isolate z, giving us 2xy. And then we substitute the x and the y into here, into the formula. And then we get 2 times 3 times 1 equaling 6. So exactly what we did. And we got A. We are 14 for 14, baby. So question number 15. We are almost halfway there, right? We are almost halfway there, guys. Halfway there. Consider the following formula. Y equals negative 3x plus 4. Now this question, or this right here, we have to, I want to identify the slope, and I want to identify the y-intercept. So the slope is negative 3x. That means rise over run. So this is what it means when I mean rise over run, okay? So when you have a whole number like this, not a fraction, you put it over 1, and then you go up 3, and then over 1. And since this is a negative number, we go downwards. It's a downward slope. So we go like this. We go like this, or yeah, like this, and then we go down. 1, 2, 3. So just from doing that, we know that this is not the slope. Okay. This slope is negative. So what I would do on the test is I would write, or like I would visualize and write on the graph. It's kind of hard when you're doing these questions too, because you have a computer, so you're just like staring at it, and then you're mentally counting, or you're counting like this with the mouse. So from here, 0, 4 to over here, 2, 0, I would count 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, so we have 2, and then I'm sorry, it's rise over run. So it's actually 4 over 2, and it is a negative slope. So that is a negative 2x, which is not negative 3x. So we could rule out A. Okay, that's what I would be doing. I would rule out each one. And then over here, we have X and Y. We have a table. So we just plug in the values. So Y is 4. So I go 4 equals negative 3, and then 0 plus 4. And that equals 4 equals, what is negative 3 times 0? That is 0 plus 4. It's 4. That checks out. And then I would keep going down the line. So 2 equals negative 3, 1 plus 4. That equals 2 equals, what is negative 3 times 1? That is negative 3. What is negative 3 plus 4? That is positive 1, and they do not equal. So the table, we could rule out the table now. So we ruled out A and we ruled out B. And then that leaves us with C and D. And the value of Y. So you need to know word problems. Okay, this is kind of hard. It's very difficult to kind of grasp, but you must learn word problems. The value of Y is equal to 4 minus 3 times X. So let's just write this down. The value of Y, okay, equals 4 minus 3 times X. And does this look familiar? It does, because this is the correct answer. And then we just manipulate it to where it's Y equals mx plus b, which is like this. And there you go. This is this formula. Which of the following choices represents the same relationship as the given function? And that is C. I would just move on with the test, but for the sake of this video, let's just test this out. Actually, there's no reason to test this out because D is a positive slope. It's not negative, it's positive. So we would just rule this out automatically because we have a negative slope. Okay? Did I explain a rise over run right? I did. I hope I did. Okay. Rise is just you go up and then you run. And then if it's negative, you go this way. I know like they explain it like going down, like you choose a point and then you go down, but it doesn't matter. You just need to know that if it's negative, you go to the left side. If it's positive, you go to the right side. And that's it. Okay, perfect. So let's see what we have here. And then we have that it's C. So if you guys didn't notice, I boldface in orange the correct answer. And then let's go ahead and see what's going on. So we identify slope and intercept. So we already have it in slope-intercept form. M, which is negative 3, which is the slope. And then y-intercept, which is 4, which is B. And then use the y-intercept. So we start at 0, 4, 0, 4. But the thing was that this is a positive slope, so we ruled that out. And then for this one, we counted and got a slope of negative 2x, which is not our slope. And then check the slope. A slope of negative 3 means right 1, or right 1, right? Yep. Or left 1. Left 1 or right 1? I guess right. Right 1 like this, and then down 3. I guess, huh? And then, so points like these should fit. 0, 4, 1, 1, 2, negative 2. Wrong choices may still pass through 0, 4, but they do not go down 3 for every one right. They are wrong. Remember, you want to identify the y-intercept first, then verify the slope. Okay? And then we just start, for the table, plugging numbers in. For this, just counting the rise over run. And for this, you need to know, or you're going to need to be able to identify and read the word version of the formula. Okay? So, question 15. Now we have the word form first. Y is equal to 5/9 of x plus 2. So this equals y equals 5 of 9ths times x plus 2. Okay? So from this, do we know our slope and our intercept? And yes, we do. We know that our slope is 5 over 9. We rise 5 and we rise over run 9. I always have to say that out loud to figure it out. Rise 5 and then over 9. And it is positive. So it's going to go this way, exactly like this. And then we have a intercept, a y-intercept of 2. And to find the y-intercept for anything really is all you have to do is set x to 0. So for example, y is equal to 5/9 0 plus 2. and then you get y equals, and these cancel out because anything times 0 is just 0, and then y is equal to 2, and then you get the coordinate 0, 2. So that's what we mean by y-intercept, okay? And then vice versa, the x-intercept would be make y equaling 0 and then solve for x. And that is the point in the graph where the line crosses the x-axis. Okay, so for this one, for A, I would see that this is a positive slope, but if we look closely, you're gonna have to zoom in. I can't zoom in. Can I zoom in? No, I cannot. But this is 0, -2, which is not our y-intercept, so we could rule out A. B, I put this on here just to make it an obvious wrong answer. This is a parabola, and this is not the right answer. I do have a question on here where we do work with a parabola, I believe. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe that's just the quadratic formula. But with the parabolas, they're not linear, and you get a parabola with an equation like y equals x squared and then plus 9x plus 5. You know, that's for sure. That's when you get a parabola. Okay, perfect. Now let's go ahead and just plug in numbers into our equation from these tables and figure out what the correct answer is, because from both graphs, we ruled them out. So y equals 5/9 x plus 2. So let's go ahead and plug in 2. 2 equals 5/9 x plus 2, or I'm sorry, 0. And this equals 2 equals 2, which checks out. And then let's go ahead and do 6 equals 5/9. Just do the next number. 9 plus 2, which is 6 equals 45/9 plus 2. 6 equals 45 divided by 9 is 5 plus 2. 6 equals 7, which does not check out. So we could cross this out. Okay, let's go ahead and try the last answer choice, and that is going to be the right answer choices because we ruled out these three. So for the sake of this video, we will work this problem out and plug in the numbers from this table into the equation. But for you, when you're taking the test, if you ruled out all three, just move on. Just write D or select D and move on. Okay, so we have, let's start off with, I'm just going to start off from the middle. So we have -8 equals 5/9 minus 18. And this is so ugly. That's so ugly. What is 18 times 5? 0, 4, 9. This is a 0. Okay, so we have -8 equals 90 minus 90 over 9 plus 2, which equals -8 equals -10 plus 2. -8 equals -8, and that checks out. Next number. I'm only going to do 2 more. Or I'm sorry, 1 more. I'm going to do -3 equals 5/9, and then that's -9 plus 2. -3 equals -45/9 plus 2. -3 equals -5 plus 2. -3 equals -3, and that checks out. -3, -3, that checks out. So let's just go ahead and go to the answer choices. So y is equal to 5/9 of x, or consider the following formula. Y is equal to 5/9 of x plus 2, and it is answer choice D. And then we just see over here that we have to know how to rewrite the formula into y equals mx plus b, identify the slope, identify the y-intercept, check the y-intercept, okay? Check that it starts at 0, 2. We can eliminate graphs A and B because A shows a y-intercept of 0, -2, and B is a parabola. And then we just check the patterns in the tables, and then we see that that C doesn't work because the slopes are wrong. But what I did was I just put these inside the formula and they didn't match. But when I did that with D, when I put it inside the formula, they did match. And that's how I got answer choice D as my correct answer. Okay. Next, consider the following table. Now, my nose is starting to itch because we've been working at this for so long. We are at 1 hour and 30 minutes of recording. Okay, consider the following table. We have C and T, which is just X and Y. I did this to confuse you guys, and I will confuse myself now. T is equal to, or actually, in this now, we are not given the formula, okay? We are not given the formula like these questions. Now we have to figure out the formula ourselves. And to figure out the formula ourselves, we need to find the slope and y-intercept. So there is an extra step. Take a 1 minute break. So for this question, we need to do an extra step, which is to find the slope and intercept ourselves. So to find the slope, we need to pick 2 points. I'm going to pick these two. And then to find the slope, we have to use this formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I chose these two over here. So I'm going to, and it doesn't matter which order we do it. We just have to do it. Once we pick that order, we have to stay with that order. So I'm going to make this y2, and I'm going to make this y1, and I'm going to make, wait a minute. See, I confused myself. Yeah, that's right. And then there is a freaking gnat that's flying near me. So it's like right on me. Like they fly right on my face, and then they go up my nose. Like, okay, I've been at this test for too long. Okay, so I chose y2 and y1. I'm gonna make this x2 and this one x1. I can't switch these up. If I switch these up, I'll get the wrong slope. Okay, so y2 is -21 minus -14 over, and then -2 minus -1, which equals, this equals a plus, this equals a plus. So -21 plus 14 equals -7 over -2 plus 1 is -1 equals -7 over -1 equals 7. So our slope is 7. So we found our slope. And then now we must find our y-intercept, and that's already on the graph. So our formula is T equals 7C minus 7. This is our formula now. So all we have to do now, and there is another gnat, T is equal to 7 less than C. So T is equal to 7 less than C. So C minus 7. And that is not our answer. That is not our equation. So we can cross that out. And then what about this one? T is equal to 7 times the quantity of C minus 7. So that is 7 and then C minus 7 like that. And then we get equals, then we distribute that 7, we get 7C minus 14, which is almost our equation, but it's not. Okay. And then we look at D. Before we look at the graph, I'm going to look at D. And D is just an equation, an expression that we're going to simplify. So we have T equals, I'm just going to simplify here, that's 6C minus this is 6 over 2, which is just 3, plus c minus 3, and then that equals 7c minus almost, it's minus 6. And this is our formula. This is our, yeah, that's our formula. Oops. And that's wrong. And then we look at the graph and just see that, let's see that it has a y-intercept. It has a y-intercept of 0, -7, and it is a positive slope. And you see here, there's this is -7 right here, and it goes -7, right? -7, 1, 2, right? Oh, I'm sorry. It doesn't go like that. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then this big old leap here, 1, right? Because 0 to 1 is right here, and that's 7. Rise over run, 7 over 1, which equals our slope. Okay, C, that's my final answer. And C is the final answer. C is the correct answer. Why? Let's go see. Step 1, we find the slope by picking 2 coordinate points. Okay, exactly what we did. And then over here, they chose 1, 0, and 2, 7. They die in here. Like the pressure is just too much for them. They're just gnat guts inside my vacuum. So they chose 1 and 0 and 2 and 7. And then they just did exactly what I did. So this is so this 7 is y2. This 0 is y1. 7 minus 0 equals 7. And then this is x2. And this is x1. 2 minus 1 equaling 1. Equaling m equaling 7. Then you get the y-intercept from the table. Okay. Now we have our equation y equals mx plus b. Okay. T equals 7c minus 7. And then here it says 7 less than c, which means c minus 7. I believe that's what I wrote. Did I write that? I don't know. And then we have choice B. Well, choice A is wrong. Okay. Choice A is wrong. And then we have choice B, which says 7 times the quantity c minus 7, which means t c minus 7 equals 7c minus 49. Oh, why did I put 14? Yeah, I don't know why I did that. That's incorrect. Don't copy me there. It's minus 49 because I distributed it wrong. 7 times 7 is 49. Luckily, that wasn't the right answer. Eliminate the equation choice. Okay, then we got 7c minus 6, exactly what we got. Then we examine the graph, and then we see that it has a positive slope of 7, and the y-intercept's at 0, -7, and that matches our equation of t equals 7c minus 7. All right, cool. Let's move on. Question 18. Simplify the expression and determine which graph it represents. So... excuse my language, but I made a bullshit problem. I did this on purpose, okay? I did this on purpose because I hate you guys. No, I'm just kidding. I did this on purpose because I like you guys and I wanted to make this hard. So when you take the test, it's going to be easy. So simplify the expression and determine which graph it represents. So we're just going to do algebra, okay? We have to do some algebra first. And let's see if I could just get rid of this 2 in the denominator, because this is its own term. This whole thing is its own term, and this is its own term. So we can, okay? We could get 7x plus plus 3 2x minus y minus x plus 2 y minus 3x. And then we start simplifying. So 7x, I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm going to distribute this 3, and I'm going to get, I'm not going to distribute the 3 yet. I'm going to distribute this negative first. So in the parentheses, I get 2x minus y plus x. And then I distribute the 3 and get 6x minus 3y. Looks like an x. 3y plus 3x. Okay. And then I'm going to distribute this over here. So I'm just going to bracket that for my purposes. And this is 2y minus 6x. Okay. So just from the get-go, what can I already cancel out, right? That's what I'm looking for. So just because, let's see what's the best way to do this. 7x plus 6x, and this is a 7. Okay, 6x minus 3y plus 3x plus 2y minus 6x. Cool, it all fits. So I could just cancel this, okay? And then 7x plus 3x is 10x, okay? It's all equaling y. And then I could get rid of these. Then we get negative 3y plus 2y is just negative y. And then I could plus this y, and we get 2y equaling 10x. Then we could divide by 2, and then we get y equaling 5x. That is our equation. Our equation now is just y equaling 5x, which is super easy. I did that on purpose. I made it super hard for you to figure out because you're going to be wasting time trying to figure out simplifying the expression. And you could make a mistake there, but you didn't because you got y equals 5x. And then you just start plugging everything in, right? So let's just plug in a number here. So let me go 8 equals 5, 2. That's 8 equals 10. And that does not equal 10. So no. So we get rid of A. And then we look at this graph. And then the y-intercept is at the origin. So this is actually y equals 5x plus 0. Okay. Because there is nothing there. No origin. I don't know if it's plus 0. Actually, don't quote me on that. But anytime you just have an x and no b at all, then you know the origin's at 0. We see that this is a positive slope. And then let's go ahead and pick this point and then pick, where's the 5? I think the 5's right here. Then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1. And this one, I believe, is the answer. B is the answer. And then we're just going to check C. The value of y is equal to the sum of x. Y is equal to the sum of x. So x and 4 times the value of 4x plus 4x increased by 1. So we have 5x plus 1. I think so. But even that, just no, that's not the right answer. That's just too much for this. So let's go ahead and see what we get. B. B is the correct answer. And we do all this math, okay? For this one, we didn't cancel. It looks like we didn't cancel the 2 yet. But I did that from the get-go. And then we get y equals 5x. So here's the math. Here's another way to do it, okay? This way, I just simplified the parentheses first. And then I distributed. Then I combined like terms. And then I divided by 2. And then I isolated the y to get y equals 5x. I eliminated the table because you'll figure out that m equals 4x. The slope equals 4x, which is wrong. Or you could just plug in numbers in the formula we had, which is y equals 5x, and then figured out that the numbers don't match, eliminating the table. Then we eliminate the word choice because we get y equals, so the sum of x, and 4 times the value of x, which I got. Yeah, I got that. Increased by 1 plus 1 equals, if we combine x plus 4x, we get 5x and then plus 1. And this would be right if they didn't have this part right here. But that is also wrong. And then we examine the graph, we find the slope, we kind of eyeball it, and then we figure out that this is the correct choice. And thankfully, I put none of the above, so we don't have to work any further. They will have that on the test, and you might choose none of the above. Sometimes it may be. You know, there are some times where I click none of the above. So there we go. Question 19. Here we go. We're tracking, guys. We are tracking along. All right. Which of the graphs represent the following two linear equations? So for this one, I want both of my equations as or in y equals mx plus b form. And this one, the first one, is in fact in y equals mx plus b. So the only one that I have to rearrange is x plus y. So I would go x plus y equals 1. And I want mx plus b. So it minus x, y equals negative x plus 1. All right, so I have a slope of 1 for here, and I have a slope of negative 1/2 x. This is negative 1x, or just negative x. And then I have a y-intercept of 3 and a y-intercept of 1. So I'll go on this graph, and I will eliminate choice A because both of my slopes are negative. So this has a positive slope, and then I have a negative slope. Get rid of that. Made this a little hard. The rest are all both negative slopes. But if we look further, okay, we see that the y-intercept is at 2 over here, and I don't have one at 2, and then also at 3. So I could eliminate C. And then I see the y-intercept again is at 2, and then the y-intercept here is at 4. So I could eliminate B. And then what's left is D. I have a y-intercept of 1, which is what I have here. And then I also have a y-intercept of 3. And then to go a step further, we could just go ahead and see the rise over run. So we have this, and that is a slope of 1, of negative 1. You would technically do this, go right and then down. But I don't really care. I just go to the left if it's negative, right if it's positive. So for this one, negative 1/2, so rise once from the y-intercept. So right here, and then over 2, and then that's negative 1/2 slope. Oh, my nose is getting me now. My nose gets me once I've been at the computer for too long. It's just my nose hairs, really. Not really my allergies or anything. But D is the correct answer. And let's go see our explanation. So rewrite both equations in slope-intercept form. So our first one was good to go. And then we just rearranged our second equation to get y equals negative x plus 1. And then we have here, very important, we have a slope of negative 0.5, and we have a slope of negative 0.5 and a y-intercept of 3, and a slope of negative 1 and a y-intercept of 1. So these are the ones we have to look for in the graph. Okay, that's what I would identify. So compare the slopes. Both slopes are downward, so they're both negative. And then one should be steeper than the other. We could eliminate A right off the bat because it has a positive slope, right? It has a positive slope. And then we just check the other ones because the y-intercepts don't match. So B and C are wrong because the y-intercepts don't match. And then choice D is correct because the y-intercepts do match. And the question on the test will be just like that. It'll be just as easy, but just different equations. Okay, so the most important thing to do is to rearrange the equations, ensuring they're in y equals mx plus b, so you can identify the slope and the y-intercept, and then you just examine each graph carefully. Okay, question 20. We're almost done, guys. We're almost there. Which of the following graphs represents the function y equals 3? Now, I made this one super easy. It may be easy for me, but it may be hard for you because you don't know what y equals 3 is. Y equals 3 is just a horizontal line. That's it. That's all it is. And for this one, it is going to be A. It is referencing the line at A. Okay? C and D have slopes. We have a negative slope and a positive slope, and then they do have this one intersects at y equals 0 over 2, and this one intersects at y equals 0, negative 1. And then B is x equaling whatever number this is. And this is x equaling 2.5, right? 2.5. And that's all I really wanted you to know from this question, is to identify y equaling 3, okay? You may do all the algebra and then forget this one simple thing, which is just a line, a horizontal line. That's all. Look at our answer choices here. Choice A is correct because it is the only horizontal line through y equaling 3. Choice B is correct because it is a vertical line, which represents x equaling, it says x equaling 3, but I think I got that wrong. It does not equal x equaling 3. It's x equaling 2.5. But who cares? And then C and D are incorrect because they are slanted lines. They have slopes. And that's what you need to know from this graph. So again, I just want you to know that y equaling 3 is a horizontal line, because you may forget that. I forget that. Okay? Now, here we go. Question 21. This one's hard because I put parabolas in here, and there's some concepts I do want you to grasp from here. So let's go ahead and begin. When you have y equals, and you have this right here, this is in vertex form. Okay, vertex form is y equals ax minus h squared plus k. From vertex form, we know our y-intercept, which is h and k. Okay, so 1 and 4 is our y-intercept, 1, 4. And then we know if our a is positive, it is a parabola that is like this, it goes up. If a is negative, it goes down like this. So our parabola for sure is a negative, okay? It's like, this is written like this, y equals negative 1, and then x minus 1 squared, blah, 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 plus whatever, okay? That's what it means when that negative's there and there's no number. So from here, we know that our parabola, our equation is a parabola, in fact, a parabola, and it goes downwards. And the only parabola that does that is A. B is not a function, okay? B, there's this thing called the line test. It fails the line test. So if I put a horizontal line, it passes through 2 points. So that's all I want you to know from there. I don't want to explain further on this because there's no need for that. But I don't think there's going to be an equation like this with B, but it might show up on the test and you know for sure that's wrong. Just get it out. And then D is in mx plus b form, so this will not apply, so you could rule out D. So then you have A, and then you have C, and we know that A has a negative, a downwards parabola, or in our equation, we know that there's a downwards parabola, and this is the only one with a downwards parabola. C is a positive parabola. We could go further and figure out the y-intercept, which is 1, 4. I know it's weird, right? You would think it's -1, but if we solve, right, we get x minus 1 equaling 0, and then we go x equaling 1, and then our parabola is this, or the 4 is this, and then we get 1, 4. I think this is how you find it. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% on that. But I know that this for sure, when you get this number and this number, that's the coordinate to find the y-intercept. So you have y, and then, or not y-intercept. This is your, this is the very top or very bottom of the graph or the vertex, 1, 4. Okay, not the y-intercept. That is not the y-intercept. That is the vertex of the parabola. The highest point when it's negative and the lowest point when it's positive. So there you go. There you go. That is how you figure out question 21. So use process of elimination. A is the correct answer because it is the only downward opening parabola with vertex 1, 4. B is incorrect because it is a parabola that opens upwards. C is incorrect because it fails the vertical line test, so it is not written as y equals a function of x. And choice D is incorrect because it is a straight line written in y equals mx plus b, and it's not a parabola. Okay, question 22. 2 hours, guys. 2 hours. I made this a monster. Okay, I made this a monster of a test. So consider the following formula where y is greater than 2 and is held constant, which of the following statements is true. So for this, you need to know that this is greater than, okay? This is less, okay? You need to know that. Okay, that's just basic algebra. You need to know that. So y is greater than 2 and is held constant. Which of the following statements is true? So for this, I would move this z. So I would manipulate, I would rearrange the equation like this. 6x y minus 2 minus z, and then plus z. I would put it into z terms. That's what I would do because we want to figure out the relationship between z and x. So then we're left with z equals 6x over y minus 2. And then it says here where y is greater than 2 and is held constant. Now that is very important. Held constant. So whatever number we choose, we have to hold it. Okay. So as long as it's greater than 2. So I'm going to choose y equaling 3. That is greater than 2, and I'm going to hold that constant. So now I'm going to plug that in my formula. Z equals 6x over y, 3 minus 2. Then we get z equals 6x over 1, z equals 6x. So now this is what I'm going to be working with and what I'm going to be plugging in. This is what I'm going to be working with, and I'm going to be plugging in numbers in this equation to figure out which statement is true. So remember z equals 6x as I erase everything here. So I have z equals 6x. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and plug some numbers in. If x is negative, then z is positive, okay? If x is negative, so I'm going to choose x as negative 1, okay? Z equals 6, negative 1. Z equals negative 6. If x is negative, we made it negative, then z is positive. Well, in fact, z is negative. It turned into a negative number. If we go a step further, z equals 6, negative 2. We go z equals negative 12, which it just keeps it becomes more negative as x becomes negative. The z becomes more negative as x becomes more negative. And we see that relationship happening. Negative 1, negative 6, negative 2, negative 12. So this is incorrect. Let's go ahead and figure out answer choice B, or see if B holds true. If x increases, then z decreases. If x increases. So let's say it increases by 1, right? Let's start with 1. Z equals 6, 1. And then we have z equals 6, okay? Then we go z equals 6, 2, and then z equals 12. It says here, if x increases, we did increase the x, then z decreases. Well, no, they increase. So we can get rid of B. Now let's go ahead and do answer choice C and see if that is a true statement. And then we go if x is positive, right? If x is positive, we'll make that 1, then z is positive. And in fact, that is true because we've already done that. We saw that when we have a positive 1, we get a positive number, which is 6. So we're going to keep going. We go 6, let's make it a 2. We go 12. And then let's go make it a 3, right? Just do mental math. Z equals 18. We could do this. Right? We could do some pre-calc. All right. Z of x equals 18 because x equals 3. Yeah. Okay. You don't want to copy that down. That's just going to confuse you. But we see here that the relationship is, this is correct. If x is positive, then z is positive. And if z is positive, then x is negative. Well, I think we proved that. When z is positive, x is negative because you can't have x and z cannot be both the same, or x and z are the same sign whenever we start with x. Like if x was negative, then z would be negative 2 as well. If x is positive, then z becomes positive, right? And I think we proved that. So therefore, we've disproved this. This is not true. Let's go see. Yep. So C, if x is positive, then z is positive. Positive. So again, we would rewrite the equation, rewrite the formula, add z to both sides. Then we analyze the relationship. We see that we have these rules. Y has to be greater than 3 or y has to be greater than 2 and held constant. And then we just plug in whatever number we want, right? And then I would get 6x over 3 minus 2. Then we get 6x equaling z. Then we just start plugging in numbers and then just testing each statement. Okay. Over here, we can go a step deeper. It says here, that means z and x always have the same sign. So, okay, perfect. Exactly what I said earlier. If x is positive, then z is positive. If x is negative, then z is negative. And just want to verify choice D. If z is positive, then x is negative. No, because we proved already that if x is positive, then z is positive too as well, and vice versa. X is negative, then z is negative. All right. It says here, false. If z is positive, then x must also be positive. Man, if I do a big test like this, I may just split it into 2 because 2 hours of doing math really hurts my brain. But we're going to keep tracking. 23. We are 2/3 done with this test. 2/3 done with this test. Okay. And these questions that I'm going through right now, 23, 24, 25, and 26, you could solve these by graphing. But I'm going to do my best to explain them without graphing and by going through the steps, which are to find the cutoff when x equals 0, to find the cutoff when x equals 0, and also to plug in numbers to see what happens when the values of what happens when we have values of y that are greater than the cutoff and then below the cutoff, right? So I'm going to do my best to explain it. Let's just go. Let's just do it. So we have x equals 0.5 y minus 6. Which of the following statements is true for this formula? When the value of y is greater than 12, x is positive. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? Okay, this is a huge indicator that we have to do something with 12. Okay, I think 12 is the cutoff. So let's see what happens when we solve for when we figure out what the cutoff is. And in order to figure out the cutoff, we need to make x equaling 0. Let's go make x 0. So we have this, and then 0.5 y minus 6. And then I'm going to plus 6, plus 6. Then we have 6 equals 0.5. I'm gonna actually make this a 1/2. So it's gonna look nice when I have to multiply by 2 or divide by 0.5, which is multiply by 2 to both sides. And then you get y equaling 12. Now, we have to figure out what is happening, right? What happens above the cutoff? So y equals 12 is the cutoff. We need to find out what happens above the cutoff and then below the cutoff. Okay? And in order to do that, we're going to choose numbers that are above and below. So let's just do y equaling 14, because when you get 14 and plug it into the equation, you get a nice even number or a whole number because we have to divide by 0.5. So we have x equals 0.5. And then I said I want the cutoff to be 14. So this is above the cutoff. And that is minus 6. So we have x equals 7 because 14 divided by 2, or 14 times 0.5 is 14 divided by 2, which is 7, minus 6. And that's x equals 1. And that is a positive number. So when y is greater than 12, x is positive, okay? X is positive because we got a positive 1. So what happens on the cutoff when, so this is important. This is important. And then what happens when I pick a point below the cutoff? So we have x equals 0.5. I'm going to choose 10 because that's going to give me a whole number. Minus 6. X equals, what is 10 divided by 2? That is 5 minus 6. X equals negative 1. So we have y, when y is less than 12, then we have x is less than 0 or negative. So these are what we're going to work with to test these statements. So we have when the value of y is greater than 12, x is positive. And actually, there we go. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It is A. And then when the value of y, but for the sake of the video, let's go ahead and let's go test all the statements. When the value of y is less than 12, x is positive. So less than 12, so we prove when it's less than 12, it is not positive, it's negative, okay? When you have these right here, when you have these inequalities like this, when I say above 0 or greater than 0, that's positive numbers. When I say less than 0, that's negative, okay? So this one is out. When the value of y is greater than 12, x is negative. No. When the value of y is greater than 12, x is positive. Get out of here. When the value of y is less than 12, x is 0. No, not exactly. Okay? So we could go ahead and rule that out. When the value of y is less than 12, x is 0. No, it's not. So let's go ahead and just check our choices here. And let me just explain choice D a little bit more because I don't really fully understand that. But it says here, false. X is only 0 when y is equal to 12, not when y is less than 12. So it must equal 12, not less than 12. Got it. So anything below 12. It has to, this statement would be true if it says when the value of y is equal to 12, then x is 0. So that's why this one is not a correct statement. So what I want you guys to do is, screenshot everything, but study this right here to figure out this question, because I am used to graphing this. Okay. And I will link videos of me graphing these equations. But I am used to graphing these equations, not doing this, which is finding the cutoff, identifying the cutoff, finding out what happens above and below the cutoff, and then testing each statement for them being true or false. I'm not used to this, okay? Even on the test, even though it took longer, I graphed everything because it made sense for me when I graphed everything. Tell me what you think. Do you find this easier or graphing easier? Okay? So here we go. Next question, 24. Consider the following formula. Which of the following statements is true for this formula? And notice I underlined true because in question 25, or no, 26, I put not true. Okay? That's where it gets a little difficult. So 24, you guys got to pay attention to those things, okay? Because on the test, they may not underline it for you, and you might get one that says not true, and then you'll just mess everything up. So, which of the following statements is true for this formula? Z equals 3/2 R minus 4. Okay, so again, we're going to find the cutoff where Z is equal to 0. So we're going to go 0 equals 3/2 R minus 4 plus 4 plus 4, and then we got 4 equals 3/2 R. Now my nose is itching. We have been filming for so long that it's just itchy. And then this equals R equals 8/3. Okay, that's our cutoff. Now we find what will happen when we go above and below this cutoff. So the numbers that I'm going to choose, let's see, we have to do a little bit of maths. So 3/2, let's go. So 8/3 is like 2 and some change. And, what cutoff? Okay, I'm going to look at the answer choices here. What cutoffs did I use? Okay, I used 4 and I used 2. Okay, so I used 4 on here. Actually, guys, I'm sorry to do this to you guys, but I'm spent. Okay, I've been doing this for 2 hours. Okay, so what I want you to do, because this stuff just hurts my head. Okay, I did one of them. What I want you to do right now is to, I want you to screenshot. Okay. I want you to screenshot these questions. Question 24, here's the answer. Screenshot this. Okay, this one's long. And then screenshot this. It's continued, or just rewatch the video. And then I want you to figure out why this equals B. Okay? Next question, we have 25. And then this is the same type of question as 23. And all you're going to do is find the cutoff. After you find the cutoff, then you determine what happens above and below the cutoff by picking two numbers that are above that number and below that number. And then you test each statement. Here is the answer key. And then B is the correct answer for this one. And then 26 is a monster. 26 is a freaking monster, okay? With this one, so we have 3k equals 6m plus 18. The extra step that's on here is you have to go 3k equals 6m plus 18, and then I'm going to divide everything by 3, okay? That is the extra step. So then you get k equals 2m plus 6, right? 2m plus 6. And then after that, then you set this to 0, and then you're going to find your cutoff point. 2m plus 6, and then minus 6, minus 6, minus 6 equals 2m, divide by 2, m equals -3. Okay, that's our cutoff, and then you go above and below that, and then start testing the statements. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. My gosh, what is up with our neighbors just banging on the freaking ground there? Screenshot this, or really just screenshot this and then screenshot this. Then you're going to screenshot this. And then you're going to screenshot this. And then you're going to figure out that it's going to be answer choice D. I'm sorry, guys. These hurt my head. I will do a separate video of how to do these questions without using graphing because it is faster. Okay, it is much faster to do it this way to attack this question, which is not to graph. And most of the questions will be just like this. Consider the following formula, which statement is not true, which statement is true. They will be written just like this on the test. Okay, so now we're back to just algebra and figuring stuff out for the last 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. We have 7 more questions left. I'm spent, guys. 2 hours, 23 minutes of recording. This is like a gaming video. Okay, consider the following formula. Let's just get through it. Okay, again, I apologize on not answering the last 3 questions. My head hurts, okay? My head hurts right now just trying to do this question right now, so I'm going to drink some more water. Okay, question 27. Z equals 2R minus 6. So all we're going to do here is plug this Z, which equals 2R minus 6, into each statement to figure out if it's true. And again, you must know what these inequalities mean, okay? With me, this equals greater than. This equals less than. This equals greater than. Greater than. Okay, let's figure it out. Let's go work each formula out and test which one is correct or which one is true. So Z equals 2R minus 6, and that is 2, or we're doing A right now, minus 6 plus 6 is greater than 2R. And then we go cancel these out, and then we have 2R is greater than 2R, and that can't happen, okay? That's not true. This is not true. 2R is not greater than 2R. They're the same thing, okay? Let's do the next one. And then we get 2R minus 6 is less than 0. So we get 2R minus 2R plus 6 greater than or less than 0. Cross that out. Did I do that right? What, 6 is less than 0. Oh, yeah, that's why. Okay. Yeah, 6 is not less than 0. Okay, 6 is actually greater than 0. This would be right. But it's this right here. And that is wrong. And then we have R minus Z, which is 2R. Okay, let's do it again. 2R minus 6. Remember, we have to distribute that negative. Okay, R minus 2R plus 6 is greater than R. And then we get negative R plus 6 is greater than R. I'm going to redo this one. I think I did it wrong. R minus 2R minus 6 is greater than R. And then we get R minus 2R plus 6 is greater than R. And then we get negative R plus 6 is greater than R. And then we get plus R plus R. We get 6 over, or not over, greater than 2R. Divide by 2, divide by 2, and we get 3 is greater than R. Well, no, that's not always true, because what if we had values that were greater than 3? So if R is greater than 3, then this would not be true. Okay? That's what that means. So let's go ahead and test our last statement, which is kind of a monster. So we have 2R minus, and then we have 2R minus 6. I'm just going to do this right here. So we have 2R minus 2R 2r plus 6. We cancel those out, and that's 6 on the left side. And then, I'm just going to circle it. And then we have 2r minus 2. Oops. We have 2r minus 6 minus 2r. And then we have 2r minus 6 minus 2r. Cancel the 2r's, and we get negative 6. And then we get 6 is greater than negative 6, and that is always true, making answer choice D correct. So let's see what we have on the slides. So we have 2r minus 6. Okay, 2r over 2r, this becomes 0 is greater than 0. And this is false, never can be true. Choice B, we have 2r minus 6. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Then we get 6 is less than 0, and that cannot work. That is false. And then this one, we have 3 is greater than r. False. This only can be true when r, is, like I said, when r is less than 3. Anything greater than 3, then it's not true. And this is the only one that becomes true when 6 is greater than negative 6. That is always true. So, question 28. Which value of k is correct? Okay, so we have k, or actually, the first thing I would do is just simplify this. So this actually is 1 over 3. Okay, 1 over 3. So we have k, or what we would do here is cross multiply. So I would just rewrite this for you guys. And then we would distribute, I'm going to distribute this negative from the get-go. So we have negative 4 plus k, and then equals 1 over 3. And then we just cross multiply. That's all we're doing. And we're all familiar with that, right? So we have 3k minus 8. I'm going to put this in parentheses. I went ahead of myself there. So we have 3k minus 8, and then equals k minus 4. Because that 1, I'll just put that right there. Doesn't matter. So let's just distribute the coefficients. 3k minus 24 equals k minus 4. And then I'm going to, I am actually going to plus 24. Then you get 3k equals k plus 20. Then minus k, and then you get 2k equals 20, divide by 2 equals 10. And then that is answer choice C. And let's see if we get it. And yes, answer choice C. And exactly what I said, you want to simplify first? You can, and I've done it before. You can just cross multiply and then just simplify from there, but it's going to take longer. So go ahead and just simplify this first. And then you would just complete simple algebra by cross multiplying, distributing, and solving. K equals 10. Okay, evaluate the formula. Q equals 3 over R. R equals n plus 2n over 4 pi. What does Q equal? So from this one, I'm going to just simplify this. Okay, so this is 3n over 4 pi. So then we get Q, and then we go Q equals, we're going to put this R, whatever this is, in this right now, into Q. And then we go 3n over 4 pi. I'm going to put this in parentheses because what you do to get rid of the denominator is we're going to multiply and then we're going to flip these. So we're going to go Q equals 3, and then I'm going to make it visually nice. So 3 times 4 pi over 3n. And then we're going to go 3 times 4, which is q equals 12. And then carry that pi over 3n. And we can go a step further and simplify and go 4 pi over n, because 12 divided by 3 is 4. And that is answer choice n, or A. Getting tired, guys. A. Let's see what we got. Simplify the expression for r. Okay, exactly what I did. So we have r equals 3n over 4 pi. Substitute the expression for r into q equals 3 over r. So we have this q equals 3 over 3n over 4 pi. Then we have to divide a fraction. So we flip it, and then we get 3 times 4 pi over 3n equals 12 pi over 3n equals 4 pi. Simplified, 4 pi equals, or 4 pi over n. That is the simplest form, equaling A. Okay. Question 30. We're almost done. And again, I have to apologize. I'm just spent. I'm actually spent, guys. So for this, you gotta get creative. Okay, there's no like set way or set numbers to choose to cancel out a variable, because that is the first step. We have to cancel out a variable. And how do we cancel out a variable? We have to manipulate the question where we multiply or divide by something, usually multiply. So I'm going to multiply the equation n by 3. Okay, and I'm going to multiply the equation p by negative-2. Okay, why? Because I want to get rid of this a. So when I multiply this equation, the equations by these numbers, we're going to get rid of the a variable. Then we solve for b, and then we get the b variable. Then we're going to get that b variable, plug it back into one of these equations to get the a variable. So that's what we're going to do. Let's perform it. So 2a plus 5b equals 11. All this times 3, giving us 6a plus 15b. Oh my gosh, my handwriting is a disaster. 6a plus 15b equals 33. Then we have here negative 6a. Now we could cancel those out. Plus 12b equals negative 6. Then we're going to cancel this. Then we get here. Then we're going to combine the terms now. 15b plus 12b, that equals 27b, equaling 27. Divide by 27, divide by 27, b equaling 1. Now we're going to put this b into any one of these equations to get a. I'm going to choose n. So let's go get 2a plus 5, 1 equaling 11. 2a plus 5 equaling 11, minus 5, 2a equaling 6, divide by 2, a equaling 3. There we go. And then b equaling 1. So we have our coordinate 3, 1. And that is answer choice B. And for the sake of the video, and just to like show you guys, you could choose any equation, right? Every time that I touch my nose, you have to take a shot. Because, dude, my nose is just itchy. It's not like my allergies. It's just an itchy nose. It's annoying. Okay, so we have b equaling 1, right? That was what we found out. Let's go plug it into p. We get 3a minus 6, 1 equaling 3. And then we get 3a minus 6 equaling 3. Plus 6, we get 3a equaling 9. Divide by 3, a equaling 3. Again, cool. I've just proved that you could use any of the equations after you figure out the first variable. And again, you have to get a little fancy. You have to get creative to cancel one of these variables out. We can, for example, like multiply this by 5. And then multiply this by 6 to get plus 30b and negative 30b, and then cancel those out. but those will be like huge numbers, but it'll work. Okay. So this is the way to do it. I don't think there's any more that I need to explain here. Just screenshot this, study this on your own. Let's move on to the next question. Find the unknown variable b. Okay. So for this one, all you're going to do is plug in the known variables in the equation and you are going to solve. Now I did work this out, and the only thing that might trip you out is just distributing the negatives. They're all over the place. Okay, so let's just go ahead and plug in the known variables in this equation. So we have 18. We have 18 over, and then t is 10 minus c, which is 4, plus we have 18 c, which is 4, minus h, which is 2, over t minus, what's h again? H is 2 minus 1, and then minus I is 18 over, what is c? It's 4 plus h is 2. And then we're just going to figure out what's going on in the parentheses. So let's go solve further. 18 over 10 minus 4 is 6, plus 18, what is 4 minus 2? That is 2 over, oops, I didn't put an 18 for this t. It's 18. And then we have, that's not 18. Ooh, it's 10. 10 minus, this one is 1, minus 18, and this one is 6, equaling b. And then we get 18 divided by 6, which is 3. And then plus 36 minus, what's 10 minus 1 is 9, minus 18 divided by 6 is 3, equaling b. Then we get 3 plus, what is 36 divided by 9? That is 4, minus 3 equaling b. Cancel these out, and we have b equaling 4. Perfect. So this could be dangerous if you don't distribute correctly. That's it. This is basic algebra. So I put this at the end of the test because it's going to give you super confidence to just finish, right? You're done with all the hard stuff. The meat is these word problems. And then now you're just solving, you're just doing algebra. Now you're just doing algebra. So again, I did exactly what this slide shows us. Let's move on to 32. Isolate the variable from the formula. So this looks nasty, but this is in fact one of the easiest problems in this set. So we have P equaling Q minus, I'm not even going to write it, okay? P equals Q minus R over S plus TC minus U. We're trying to isolate to get C, okay? We're trying to manipulate the equation where it equals C. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plus the U. So yeah, now I'm going to write it all down. P equals Q minus R over S plus TC minus U plus U plus U. We have P plus U equals Q minus R over S plus TC. Now, we can, because this is its own term, we can minus this whole thing. Q minus R over S. We could do that, okay? We're going to put it to the other side, giving us P, oops, that's an R, P plus U minus, I'm going to do it like this, minus Q over minus R over S equaling TC. And then the easiest thing to do now is just divide everything by T. That's it. And we figured it out. Rewriting everything to make it look clean. We get C equals P plus U minus Q minus R over S, everything over T. And that is our final answer, which is, let's just check each one carefully. P minus Q minus R over S plus U over t? I think it's a. C equals p minus q minus r. Is it plus u? Oh, see, that's where we have to be careful. This one's minus u. And then this is definitely not the right answer, and this is definitely not the right answer. So, yeah, it is A. It is A. And this is how to do it, how to solve and subtract q minus r over s from both sides, because q minus r over s is its own term. Okay, let's go ahead. Isolate the variable. Again, this one, super easy though. These ones are easy. I like these ones. And these will most definitely be on the test. Okay, so we have m1 equals k1, k2 minus m2 plus k1, m2 over m2 plus 2. The first thing I would do here is I would distribute this k1. Okay, so we have m1 equals, and I'm going to distribute it right now, k1, k2 minus k1, m2 plus k1m2. And I think I formatted this wrong. Let me just fix it actually. Sometimes this messes up. Okay, perfect. And then we're going to put this all over m2 plus 2. I'm just going to underline that 2 so we don't get confused. Okay? So from here, can we like cancel anything out? Can we cancel anything out? Yes, we can. We could cancel these two out. So we have m1 equals k1, k2 over m2 plus 2. And then we want this k1. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply m2 plus 2 to cancel out. And we're going to get this m1 times m2 plus 2, underline that, equals k1, k2. And then we're just going to divide everything by k2, giving us m1. So it's m1 times m2 plus 2 over k2. And we could eliminate this, eliminate that. Is it this? No, because it's plus 2. Nothing happened with the bottom, with the denominator. So it's this one right here. It's A. And it's A. So rewrite the equation, expand the numerator. Okay, so that numerator, remember we have to distribute that k1, which we will cancel like terms, and then get k1, k2 over m2 plus m2. Then we clear the denominator on both sides by multiplying by m2 plus 2. And then after that, we divide everything by k2, giving us the right answer. Okay, my nose itches. I have to pee. I did answer those hard word questions, but you have the answers. You have the answer guide, so not to worry. And now I know that I must make another video where I solve those with a fresh mind. So I think this is the last question. And this is the last question. So there are 33 questions on the test. I did put this last question on here, which is which we will use the quadratic formula. And I did this on purpose because I want you to know the quadratic formula. I don't remember using the quadratic formula, but this could be on the test. I do remember iPrep teaching me this, and you may or may not have this. So 13x squared minus 65x plus 78 equals 0. Which of the following is the correct solution? X equals 2 or x equals 3, and so on and so forth. Let's go ahead and solve this. So first thing that I would do is I would identify my A equals 13, B equals negative 65, and then C equals 78. Okay? And then we would have the formula ready, which is the formula is negative b plus minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now we're just going to plug everything in and see what we get. And this one will be a monster because it's a monster. We have big numbers, and I did this on purpose. Okay. So we have negative 65, and I'm going to start writing it actually right here. So we have negative 65 plus minus, and then we have 65 squared. Okay, negative 65. But it doesn't matter because a negative times a negative equals a positive. Then we go minus 4, then A is 13, and C is 78. My gosh, it's going to be a huge number. Over 213, okay? Then we go 65 plus minus 65 times 65. Let's just do that. Let's work that out. 65 times 65. You write it closer here. 65 times that equals 5. 5 times 6 is 30, and plus 2 is 32. 0, that is 0. 3, 39, plus that is 5, 2, 2, 1, 4, 2, 2, 5. So we have 4, 2, 2, 5 minus, and then 4 times 13. We have 2, 1, 52. 52 times 78. That is 6, 1, 41, 0, 4, 1, 36 minus 6. 11, 3, what? Oh, oops. I'm subtracting. Oh my gosh, guys. Too long recording. Okay. Do it again. 6, 1, 41, 0, 4, 1, 36. I have to add them. 6, 5, I just, you guys won't be able to see if I start running over here. So 4, 1, 6, 3, 6, 4, 0. That is 6, 5, 0, 1, 4. That is 40, 56, all over 26. 65 plus minus square root. What is 4225 minus 40, 56 minus 15, 1, that is 9, okay, 1, 1, that is 6, 169 divided by 26, 65 plus minus square root of 169 is 13 over 26. Now we just figure out the positive and negative and we are done. So let me just erase everything. Okay, so we have 65 plus 13 over 26, which equals 878 over 26, which equals 3. And then we have 65 minus 13 over 26, which equals 42, right? No, 52. 52 divided by 26, which equals 2. So we have x equaling 3 or x equaling 2 as our final answers, okay? Which is answer choice A. Oh my gosh, I have done. And that's how you solve using the quadratic formula. You can, and I do recommend you try it out. Try the A times C method, okay? Try that out. you will get the right answer, or you will get the same answer. I've tried this out already, and you will get the same answer, x equaling 2 and x equaling 3. All right. And this is how to use the quadratic formula. You just have to know the quadratic formula, okay, which is x equals negative b plus minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. You must know that. You must memorize it. And you would use this if the AC method doesn't make sense. But usually the AC method does. And yeah, there you go, guys. Last slide is, what was your score? Because what I wanted you to do was do this test slowly, mark what you got wrong and what you got right, tally it all up, and give yourself a percentage score. Give me the score, write it in the comments, and then also tell me or tell everyone what you need to work on, what you need to focus on. And then from there, you could get directed to another video where I do go over the problems, where I go more in depth into certain types of problems on this practice test. I do recommend you take practice test 1, and I do recommend you take practice test 2. I recommend you take them multiple times because the more reps, it's proven, the more reps you put in, the more likely you will pass the test. As a favor for you guys, I've done this too as well. I have manipulated the whole test for you guys, and I have made practice test 2 the variant. So I'm just going to go over these slides really quick, and all I want you to do is screenshot them and work on them on your own. Why do I want to skip the cutscenes? Never again ask me that question.
Oh no! Looks like you've been cut off!
They got little hats. The rain has made me clean. Took off all the blood.
One way out.
To fight, yes. Come on. He put his swords away. Oh, he jumped. Yes, 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 yes.
Long ago, the Dark Dragon, youngest of the divine dragon gods, wreaked havoc across the world. Awakened by the fiends of the underworld, the corrupted dragon fractured the very earth and plunged humanity into chaos. The plot of the fiends was ultimately thwarted through the efforts of a sole ninja.
See, guys, dragons are real.
Ryu Hayabusa.
Ryu Hayabusa!
A master ninja with superhuman skills who has eradicated the forces of evil time and time again. Not even the dragon god was able to stand against Ryu Hayabusa, and order was restored to the world once more. However, several years ago, a powerful fiend and a mysterious priestess attempted to resurrect the Dark Dragon. And once again, Ryu took up arms to vanquish this threat. Yet, despite Ryu's heroic efforts, the Dark Dragon's husk remained, brimming with immeasurable power fueled by the countless lives sacrificed in the
Ryu
summoning
die?
ritual. And from this husk fell an endless downpour of cursed rain. Blighted miasma flooded Tokyo, rousing the hordes of the underworld and transforming the desolated city into a living hellscape. In an effort to prevent a repeat of this calamity, Ryu worked alongside the Divine Dragon Order, an autonomous military organization that seized control of the city and sealed away the husk of the Dark Dragon.
Yeah, where are all the people?
Still infested with blight and vile fiends, the abandoned Tokyo continues its struggle against chaos
abandoned.
to this day.
There's Ryu. Come on now. I can't be the only one that's excited. Several days earlier. There you guys have it. Practice test 2 is complete. That's all I have for you guys. Marky F baby out. I'm done.